topic of the hour, the White House doing damage control this morning after President Biden insulted Trump supporters while on Harris's campaigns and campaigning just days before the election. Fox News' Lucas Tomlinson is live from Washington right now with all of the White House spin after this horrible comment from Joe Biden. Lucas.
Well, good morning, Maria. Just last week, Biden said we got to lock him up. While speaking about Donald Trump last night in Allentown, Pennsylvania at a Trump rally, here was the reaction when Senator Marco Rubio told Trump about Biden's comments, but calling his supporters garbage.
I have breaking news for you, Mr. President. You may not have heard this. Just moments ago, Joe Biden stated that our supporters are garbage.
So you have, remember Hillary, she said deplorable? And then she said irredeemable, right? But she said deplorable. That didn't work out. Garbage, I think, is worse, right? But he doesn't know. You have to please forgive him. Please forgive him, for he not knoweth what he said.
Donald Trump posting on social media, quote, "I am proud to lead the biggest, broadest, and most important political coalition in American history. We are welcoming historic numbers of Latinos, African Americans, Asian Americans, and citizens of every race, religion, color, and creed. It is my desire to be the president of all the people." Now, President Biden attempted to clarify his remarks later on X, quote, "Earlier today, I referred to the hateful rhetoric about Puerto Rico spewed by Trump's supporter at his Madison Square Garden rally as garbage, which is the only word I can think of to describe it. His demonization of Latinos is unconscionable. That's all I meant to say. The comments at that rally don't reflect who we are as a nation." Now, until Biden's comments, Maria, the night was supposed to belong to his vice president, Kamala Harris. Her campaign says 75,000 people packed the ellipse here in the nation's capital to listen to Harris's closing argument.
It is time to stop pointing fingers. We have to stop pointing fingers and start locking arms. It is time to turn the page on the drama and the conflict, the fear and division. It is time for a new generation of leadership in America.
J.D. Vance tore into Politico last night, accusing the outlet of covering for President Biden by attempting to sugarcoat his comments, disparaging Trump supporters as garbage. Senator Tom Cotton thinks Harris should condemn Biden for those remarks, Maria.
And so far, we have not heard Kamala Harris say anything about the remarks. Correct, Lucas?
That's correct.
All right.
Correct.
Thanks very much, Lucas Tomlinson, joining us. Look, we got to talk about this. It just seems like if Joe Biden calls Trump supporters garbage, right, that's basically his instinct. That's what he believes, Mahek.
Maria, and we have to remember, President Obama called Trump supporters and so many Republicans clingers. Then you had Hillary Clinton, who called us deplorables. Then you have Kamala Harris calling us fascists. And now President Biden is standing there and saying that we are garbage. This tells you what they think of middle-class America today. They don't respect us. They don't value us. They believe the American dream is dead, and they think we're worthless, and they're going to try and eliminate us. This is after the second assassination attempt to continue to divide and sow division and hatred, all on the heels of Kamala Harris standing there talking about unity and bringing America together. Well, hello. I'm garbage, apparently, and I'm part of that America that wants unity and to go forward. And that's where President Trump is. He's continuing to pull America together as Kamala and Democrats hate us.
I mean, what a joke for Kamala Harris to come out last night and basically say it's time to turn the page and it's time to, lock arms when you've got her partner there calling Trump supporters garbage and Kamala herself calling Trump dangerous, unhinged, Hillary Clinton comparing him to Hitler. I mean, let's listen to Joe Biden in his own words, what he said yesterday. Joe, I want to get your reaction. Here he is.
Or Puerto Rico, where I'm in my home state of Delaware, they're good, decent, honorable people. The only garbage I see floating out there is his supporters.
Orders. Your thoughts?
Well, it's plain English. He meant what he said. He was direct. He was talking about the people that he sees populating Trump rallies. You know, me, myself, at the MSG rally, people out there in Allentown, Pennsylvania, firefighters, nurses, people who are the parents of victims of senseless border violence. This is what Joe Biden thinks of them. But going back to that Kamala speech, you know, you kind of referenced this earlier. Imagine that poor soul who showed up that night with his Trump is a Nazi sign and everyone's a fascist sign, only to be told by Kamala Harris that now, instead of the closing message, now we're going to be the party of kumbaya. We're going to try to bring people together. Your closing message is supposed to sum up your argument, not pivot 180 degrees at the last moment. Yeah. I'm not sure whether the message is polling poorly all of a sudden, but she made a clear change of direction. I don't think anyone sees it as a genuine step.
Well, I think you make a really important point, because what she did last night in her closing arguments was basically attack Trump. Once again, completely void of any policy. Here's what else she said in that closing pitch last night. Watch.
I will always tell you the truth, even if it is difficult to hear. I will work every day to build consensus and reach compromise to get things done. And if you give me the chance to fight on your behalf, there is nothing in the world that will stand in my way. I have been honored to serve as Joe Biden's vice president, but I will bring my own experiences and ideas to the Oval Office. My presidency will be different because the challenges we face are different. Our biggest challenge is to lower costs that were rising even before the pandemic and that are still too high.
A lot of talking points there, still no solutions. I mean, weak. That's my comment about that. Weak. The comments come as most polls show the top issues to voters are inflation, the border crisis. It all peaked under the Biden-Harris administration. I don't know where she's coming up with these. The issues are different right now, Adam. These are the issues, and she doesn't have any answers.
And one of the issues is she doesn't have any specific solutions. She talks about challenges, ideas, experience. What are you actually going to do? I'm sick and tired of just hearing just words that go nowhere.
Platitudes. Platitudes and lots of talking points, Joe.
Look, one of the things all candidates try to do is a comparison at the last moment. Here's what I did. Here's what the other person's doing. The problem is the Biden-Harris ticket can't do that.
No, they can't, because they started all of this. They started the fire on inflation with the $7 trillion in spending. We are just getting started this morning. We've got a lot coming up.